are back after a brief hiatus for episode 17 of Business Newsletter Recap. As it turns out, it's really hard to produce podcast episodes when you're training for a marathon and renovating your kitchen. And, still running ads at Tommy's Express. My name is still Nathan Pohl. If you're a business nerd like me, you're in the right place. I'm here to bring you insights from 3 top business newsletters that I found actionable. So you can think of this as your SportsCenter top 10 highlight reel of business content. Today's episode is all about sales. We'll talk about price anchoring, closing, and sales metrics, courtesy of some of the best in the business. So let's get going. We're starting off with a selection from the follow-up newsletter, written by Nic Conley. Nic has worked in sales and business development for Amazon, Dronegenuity, and Reflective, and now shares top sales frameworks and how-tos with an audience of over 22,000 sales reps, managers, and founders, all looking to perfect their craft. The addition that caught my eye was about the importance of price anchoring. The newsletter comes out swinging with the reminder that nothing is inherently cheap or expensive. It is only cheap or expensive compared to something else. In a vacuum, if your product provides more value than it costs, someone will buy it, no matter how high the price. But most sales don't happen in a vacuum, last time I checked, which is where price anchoring comes in. Price anchoring is the act of setting some kind of reference point to your price for a consumer. In a retail setting, this might look like a $50 price tag crossed out and a new $35 price next to it. $50 is the anchor, which then makes the lower price feel like a bargain. If you've ever shopped at Kohl's or another retailer where everything is constantly on sale, you'll be very familiar with this tactic. In B2B settings, though, where prices are a lot higher and features and options are often tiered or customizable, it follows the pattern of a negotiation more than discounts. In the book Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss, a former FBI negotiator, devotes an entire chapter to the high anchor, making sure you come out stating a very high ask so that any ensuing negotiation is then a lot more reasonable if you come down from that. This principle is exactly what the follow-up preaches as well. Sharing your enterprise-level prices allows you to remove features to reduce the price for a potential customer, helping them feel like their end price is more reasonable, and that you are really looking out for them and what they truly need. If your price is reasonable compared to other competitors, you can even use their pricing as a high anchor to help yours feel lower. The newsletter goes on to give some practical tips for in the meeting to help you close. The first is not to fear being the first party to mention price. A lot of old advice says to never state your price or your number first. But if you use a high anchor, you absolutely can, and you can move forward by controlling where the anchor point is set. They give a good tip if asked point blank about price to respond this way. Our enterprise solutions start at $7,500 per month, and then let the customer respond to that. Some customers may balk at that price, or may just take you up on the high anchor based on outside research. But you need to let them tell you before you start negotiating yourself down. Knocking down your own price based on assumptions is another negotiation trap that Chris Voss warns against. If the high anchor is indeed too high, then you can talk about cheaper solutions with features that will fit their needs. But don't pass up the opportunity to make a surprise upsell or enterprise sale for a customer you didn't know had deep pockets. I highly recommend reading Never Split the Difference and subscribing to the follow-up newsletter for more tips to make you a better negotiator or salesperson. Hey, I know this episode is all about sales, but our sponsor for today is the Marketer Gems newsletter. Everyone knows that marketing and sales go hand in hand, and Tom Snyder's deep dives and case studies cover all aspects of how successful businesses build their brands and get more sales. If you're looking for marketing inspiration, deep dives, and actionable tactics, then Marketer Gems is what you'll want to read. There's no AI slop or useless articles in there, just pure high-impact marketing intelligence. Join me and thousands of others and subscribe now at marketergems.com. Again, that's marketergems.com. I'll have a link for you in the show notes. And now, back to the episode. Our next newsletter spotlight is from Alex Hormozi, probably the most famous business guru out on the internet. If you don't listen to his podcast, or read his books, or see his YouTube content, you might enjoy his newsletter, Money in Under a Minute, which comes out a couple times a week in bite-sized chunks. He has some controversial takes out there, and his personality isn't for everyone. But I have learned a ton from his content, and picking just a handful of actionable sales tactics from his newsletter was incredibly difficult. We actually have two on deck for today, and the first is how to deal with the price question. Lots of prospects ask for a price very quickly into a sales call, and studies show that if a rep responds with a number right away, close rates drop. Alex cracks me up by going so far as to say whenever a sales rep responds to the price question with a number, an angel loses its wings. What he suggests instead is to slightly deflect and get more information from the prospect if the price question comes up way too early in a meeting. Instead of responding with a number, what you should do is frame it like this. Well, we have a couple of options for you depending on your goals. What made you reach out? And then you just listen. As both Alex and Nic from the follow-up suggest, you can even wait several seconds of awkward silence, which they will probably start to fill with more information about what they're looking for, or the original problem they had to want to book a meeting in the first place. The second addition for Hormozi I want to highlight is a simple line you can use to close better and why it works. There are a lot of different ways you can wrap up sales calls, but if you want to cut to the chase without getting pushy, you can break this out. Based on what we discussed today, do you feel like this solves your problem? And then again, as covered, you let them fill the silence by answering. This is a much less pushy way to move towards closing because it focuses on whether or not their needs are met instead of if they are ready to close in that instant. But it also forces them to reconcile with the true answer to the question. If they say yes, then rejecting your offer will become a lot more awkward. Or you can just start to discuss terms or approvals that need to happen to close the contract. If they say no, they will then raise their true objections to your pitch, and then you have the opportunity to adapt before you start talking about proposals and numbers. Ultimately, sales is about solving problems, and prospects talking with you are only concerned about themselves. This question to push towards a close is a fantastic way to keep the conversation focused on problem solution fit and frame it from their perspective. Give it a try in your next meeting and see for yourself how it can help. The final newsletter highlight of the episode is revisiting one of our most popular editions from the Bootstrapped Giants newsletter, written by Jesse Pujji and Andrew Warner. If you've listened to a lot of episodes of the show, Bootstrapped Giants doesn't need an introduction. But if you're listening for the first time or you haven't caught an episode where we featured them, Jesse leads several companies, most notably Growth Assistant, Aux Insights, and Kahani. When he isn't working on those businesses, he also runs Gateway X, where he launches even more startups. I get so much value out of his newsletter, and I especially want to hit this one in particular again. How to Grow B2B Sales is the title of one of the email editions I have reread the most. It's a longer read than some of the others, but well worth it because I feel like I'm sitting across the table from Jesse, giving me the insider advice on building businesses. The whole thing breaks down why meetings per week is the only metric that matters to your sales pipeline. Jesse explains how meetings are seated perfectly in the middle of your sales and marketing funnel. Marketing drives awareness, interest, and lead flow at the top, and after meetings, sales takes over to generate proposals and quotes. Knowing how many meetings you can get then inform both marketing and sales actions. If you have an established business generating reliable lead flow from marketing efforts and closed deals from your sales team, meetings can give you valuable data. Simply tally your average meetings per week or go by month or quarter if smaller time frames skew your data too much. Then calculate the percentage of meetings that turn into quotes and then how many quotes turn into sales. Go the other direction and calculate the percentage of leads that end up meeting with you. This is your baseline for your entire sales funnel, all based on meetings per week. This is also a very precise system for optimizing specific areas of the sales funnel. Getting plenty of meetings that aren't turning into paying customers, you either have a problem with lead quality or you need to improve your closing. Not getting enough meetings? Look at cost per lead metrics across your marketing channels and shift your performance marketing spend to your top one or two, or simply spend more across the board to drive more lead volume. Any stage can be quickly scanned to evaluate sales rep performance, marketing effectiveness, and overall pipeline health. Now, this is great if you're an established B2B company, but I really liked how Jesse emphasized the value of consistently tracking meetings per week for startups or teams without a solid sales funnel. His advice is to set an arbitrary goal of meetings per week and then do whatever you can to hit that goal, whether it's manually reaching out to personal connections on LinkedIn, cold calling, or guerrilla marketing. From there, track how many quotes and sales come from them to set your preliminary baseline. Because you might be making things up as you go, there will need to be constant reevaluation of these metrics before they become consistent. Jesse then works backwards from the sales funnel to how prospects got there. You might not have a marketing team feeding you leads, which is fine. You just have to live with the fact that your meetings are going to come from personal connections or cold outreach. If your network or the network of your sales team is pretty small, this means there are probably a lot of cold emails, cold calls, or business visits in your future. But again, this serves as the data point for how much time or how many outreaches you need to hit your meetings per week goal. A lot of marketing agencies or freelancers can also help you run ads or other marketing campaigns that'll help fill your funnel. Even if your business doesn't operate by leads and sales cycles, the overall takeaway should be how valuable it is to have sales funnel data and optimize your marketing and sales process with that. To recap our actionable takeaways from the episode, we covered the importance of setting a high anchor in your sales meeting to set the reference point that any final numbers will be compared to. We got 2 great lines from Alex Hormozi to help you get more information out of prospects and help move them towards a close without being too pushy. And finally, we went over the importance of tracking meetings per week. If you want to subscribe to any of the newsletters we mentioned, I'll have the links for you in the show notes. And if you have any feedback, my contact info is there as well, and I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the show, it's also 100% free to you to leave a rating on Spotify, a thumbs up, or a subscribe on YouTube, or just share it with a colleague or fellow business nerd who might enjoy it. It truly means a lot to me. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you again sooner than last time on the Business Newsletter Recap Podcast.